So now that we've seen how you would implement all of CRUD using SQL, the next thing to look at is relationships in SQL. So firstly, I want you to add our pencil record back in if you have deleted it. And if you have deleted it, then you can see this as a challenge. Pause the video and refer to this table to add back our record of the pencil. So if you remember, the keyword is insert into, and then the name of the table, and then we specify the values, which is going to be 2, pencil, 0.8. And now if I hit run, then we now have a complete table with 2 records. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new table, and this one is going to be called orders. This orders table has a number of fields. It has an ID field, which is going to be an integer that is not null. Then it will have a order number field, which is going to be an integer. And that'll allow us to keep track of all of the orders that we ever receive at our shop. Now, the next one is quite interesting. I'm going to specify a field called customer_ID. And this is going to be an integer, but this is the place where I'll store the customer who made this particular order. So this will be a field that will act as a foreign key to our table, which will point to a particular record in our customers table. And I'm also going to do that with a product ID as well to form a relationship with our products table. Now, as you saw before, we can set a primary key for our current table by opening a set of parentheses and putting in the name of the field that will act as the primary key. So it will be the field ID. But we can also specify a foreign key. So the foreign key is going to be the key that's going to link our tables together. This is what's going to establish the relationship. As they show you here, they have customers and they have orders. And in the orders table, if you have a person with ID 3, you have a field that is the foreign key. So for the orders table, we know that this order was made by somebody in the persons table with an ID of 3. So at a later point, we can retrieve all of the data in that record that's associated with this order. And this is how you establish relationships using SQL. So in our case, we can set our customer_ID field as a foreign key, which references the customer's table. So this is going to be the name of the table. And then inside some parentheses is going to be the name of the field inside the customer's table that is the primary key. That's going to be the ID field. And finally, we're going to do the same for our other field as well, which is the product ID field. And this is going to reference the products table, again, with its primary field, which is called ID. If the concept of primary key and foreign key are foreign to you, then I recommend having a read of this documentation on W3 Schools to get to grips with the idea of how you establish relationships using SQL via these keys. So now if I hit run, I get an error and it tells me that I accidentally put in a closing curly brace instead of a round bracket. So now that's fixed. Let's hit run again. And we now have a orders table. Now again, orders table is completely empty, but if we right click on it and we click show schema, then you can see it has only 4 fields. First one, the ID, is the primary key for this orders table. And then 2 other fields act as foreign keys, which link this table orders with the customers table as well as the products table. So now I'm going to create my first order record inside my orders table. It'll have an ID of 1, an order number of 4362, and the customer who bought it had an ID in the customers table of 2, and the product had an ID of 1. if you take a look in our customers table, the customer with an ID of 2 is me, Angela Yu, at 12 Sunset Drive, and the product with an ID of 1 is a pen. By establishing those relationships, I can later create a much larger table where I join together all of the relevant records and all of the useful columns from all 3 tables that I need. So let me show you how that works by creating the first record. So we'll use insert into the orders table, and the values we want to insert are 1 as the order ID, the order number is 4362, the customer ID is 2, and the product ID is 1. So now I'm going to go ahead and create my first order that's gone through. So basically, Angela Yu has bought a pencil. That's all this represents. But now we get to use something that's really powerful from SQL, which is a join. So we can join our tables together using the keyword of join. Now, there's a whole bunch of different joins, left join, right join, full join, but the most commonly used one is the inner join, and that's the one that we're going to use. We're going to join together the parts of our tables where a particular foreign key matches. This is the syntax, and if I copy it over to our SQLite Online, we're going to select the order number from the orders table. So we would say something like orders dot the name of the field. In our case, our orders table is lowercase orders dot order underscore number. The other field that we want is from our customers table, and that's the first name, last name, and address. So we would write customers dot first underscore name, customers dot last underscore name, and customers dot address. Those are all the fields that we want to join together in a new table we're going to create. And it's going to be from the foreign keys inside our orders table. So that's what we'll say here. From the orders table is where you'll find this particular foreign key match. So the next thing is inner join, and the table we want to join is our customers table. And after the keyword on is going to be the fields that will match. It's going to be the foreign key in our orders table that's called customer underscore ID, and it's going to match with the primary key on our customers table, which is called simply ID. Now, if I hit run, you get a join table where you've got the order number, the first name, last name, address. And you can see that these fields come from different tables. But we've now managed to search through all of our tables and records, and we've managed to match up the orders and join them in a new table, which is way more useful for us. So for example, if we wanted to dispatch order number 4362, then we'll know who it's going to be sent to and what their address is. Next is going to be a challenge for you. You can see that currently we only have the order joined with the customer. As a challenge, I want you to join the order with the product that the order is relating to. Pause the video now and try to change the code so that you can complete this challenge. Okay, so in this case, we're no longer joining the orders table with the customers table. Instead, we're joining the orders table with the products table. And the fields that we're interested in is the order number, as well as some of the fields from our products table. What does our product table have? Well, it's got the name, the price, and the stock quantity. So let's go ahead and join those fields together. It'll be products dot name, products dot price, products dot stock. And we're joining from the foreign keys in the orders table. We're performing an inner join, and we're joining it to the products table. And the fields that have to match is orders dot product underscore ID. And in the products table, the field is simply called ID. So product Products with an S is the name of our table, as you can see here. And it has a field called ID, which will match with the foreign key in our orders table called product ID. So now if we hit run, you can see we get the order number, but we now join the orders table with the products table. And we now have a brand new table that's created based off this inner join. So that is a little bit on the magic of SQL database relationships. And you can see how flexible and how powerful these relationships are when you are searching through your database and you're trying to assemble all of your data from various different tables. Now, if you had any problems following along with the tutorial so far, or if you just want to have a copy of this completed table, then in the resources for this lesson, there is a link to a SQL Online version where it contains everything that we've done so far, including all of the data in our orders, customers, and products tables. So you can try out different bits of code from W3 Schools or anywhere else on it and have a play around with SQLite.